The product I'm gonna make in this video is a drawstring bag. Happens to be reversible and you can bring it with you to the shops. So what I've discovered about doing DIY is you don't need to spend a lot of money, you don't need a lot of space, you can just use your countertop in your kitchen, baking paper, tissue paper, anything like that, even newspaper, you can use anything you need. What you'll need for this project specifically is a ruler to measure, paper scissors, fabric scissors, scissors for cutting thread, any type of chalk to mark up where you're gonna cut, and any sort of thing needing to measure. So we have a gauge to measure, we have measuring tape, and we would have a little ruler right here. You'll also need pins to keep your work in place. For my first project, I've decided to use a Sunflower Day 2018 taupe from the Sunflower Fund for what to make a drawstring bag for any sort of convenient thing, just running to the store, grabbing a few things you need. You can fit your specs, your hand cream, maybe some keys, hand sanitizer because we have no water here, and your lip ice. Let's see, which color should I use? Here, I'll go with pink. Let's get started. So what I've discovered about these taupes is that they are the perfect size to minimize cutting. In fact, you can use them as a pillowcase as well. See? Well, let's put that aside and continue with the drawstring bag. All right, for this project, we're gonna need 2 taupes. I kept with my pink one and I've decided to use a blue one on the inside to make it reversible. So we're gonna start out by flipping our taupes inside out. All right, so what we're gonna need to do on each taupe is this first one, we're gonna need to pin it across with about a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And then on your second one, you're gonna take your pins and make them so you have about a 4 centimeter gap in the middle. And you'll see later why that's important. I have to measure to cut. So for this, we're gonna do 25 centimeters by 25 centimeters. But because I need a seam allowance, we're gonna have to measure 27 for a 1 centimeter seam allowance on each side. And now for the final step, we're gonna connect each of those marks with a ruler. For my marking, I'm using a fabric marker because it'll come off when you wash or steam your clothes, so you don't have any marks left over. All right, so I've moved to my sewing table, and again, I'm new at this. I'm borrowing this from a friend. It is an industrial machine. Not many people have this, but this is what we have to work with. So what I am doing right here is she has already made some marks about what a 1 centimeter is. I have my fabric set up in order to start sewing. I have removed a single pin, and I have my other 2 pins still in here, and I will take those out as I go. Now, in order to start stitching, you start by putting in your footwork and go slow on the pedal. All right, so we're gonna start by going about 2 centimeters in, and then we're gonna pull down a lever I have on this side and come right back Then lift up your lever and continue on while watching for the mark that has been made. And then when you get to the end, you're gonna come back, go almost all the way to the end. Then pull the lever again and come back. And then lift up your needle and pull it. All right, now we're gonna take our fabric with our 4-centimeter gap in it and start with our right side and put our needle down. And again, we're gonna do the back stitching where we start by going a few centimeters in, pull our lever down and back. Now lift your lever up and go all the way down. And we're gonna go immediately to the next side. Remember to leave that gap. All right, so what I've done is I've cleaned up my stitching a little bit by cutting off all the excess fabric, lining up the 2 bright sides of the taupe and turning them inside out so they lie flat like this. So now I'm gonna start pinning. All right, then we're gonna start by moving it out like this, removing our first pin, putting it in the sewing machine, and we're gonna start again with that 1 centimeter allowance and the back stitch. And then once more with the back stitching. So remember that gap I kept talking about? All right, here's where it comes in. We're gonna stick our hands through there and pull the fabric from the other side through. And we're gonna close this part with our sewing machine and then put our fabric in so it looks like a little baggie. There we go. We have, make sure that's all lined up as well. And we're gonna start stitching on the machine. All right, so we're gonna start with 2 centimeters as our seam allowance on the top. And I'm gonna start by doing our back stitch again. And pull the lever down. And we're gonna come around. All right, so I finished up my sewing and this is our last step in making the taupe. We cut off another piece of our blue taupe that we set aside, made it so it could be our string for our drawstring bag, and we take a safety pin and we're gonna put the string through the bag like so. There we go, we have the string all the way through the bag. We pull it a little bit tighter. And you just tie it off. Nice knot. And there you go. You have your drawstring bag that closes like so.